Hi there, everyone. Great to see you again. If this is another video of mine that you've tuned into, I wanted to share today the concept of the Johari window. It's another tool or a concept that I use a lot in coaching and leadership development work, especially in the context of kind of team development, individual development, and team context and aligned management kind of context. And so I wanted to share it because I talked about this in a group context just a week ago. I talk about it a lot. It's a common tool in the leadership and kind of personal development space, but I wanted to talk through how it kind of can be useful when we're starting to think about ourselves. And the context that I was in when I delivered this recently was in a business networking context when I was presenting this. So you think about, if we're wanting to, make a good impression on someone that maybe we're meeting for the first time, maybe we might even want to work with them, or we might want them to be our clients. So we kind of present, the best of ourselves, which is this kind of public self here. And the point is, when we're in those kinds of contexts, that we're presenting, one kind of version of ourselves, but so is everybody else, in the room as well. They're also doing that, for the most part, unconsciously. But the point is, there's all of this other stuff that's going on, for humans behind the scenes. And quite often, we're not really attuned to it at all when we're thinking about it in the context of others, but we're also not really aware of it when we think about ourselves. We actually don't, know ourselves that well unless we start to do, and get curious and start to do, some of this work. And so one of the areas that I, particularly focus on in the context of kind of line management, team performance, individual performance in a business context is this area of the blind spot. And that's when you think about us and how we're designed as humans, whether it's by design or not. We have eyes that look outwards, they look in one direction, so we never see ourselves in the same way that others see ourselves. And also the way that other people see us will be 100% subjective. There's no kind of universal kind of view. We're just, and in terms of how we're presenting, the way that we present is going to land differently for different people. But if we're not aware of that, then quite often that might mean that we're maybe thinking that we're getting a message across, but maybe it's not landing in the way that it needs to. And that's really important if we're a line manager, or if we're an employee and we're wanting to deliver a piece of work. We might find that we've got patterns of behavior that actually mean that we're not really coming across in the way that we want to, and that can impede our progress or our development in a kind of professional sense. So this is a really interesting way, part to start to get some feedback on, and doing feedback in a really sort of sensitive way, which is one of the things that I do as part of the leadership development work that I do. And then we move into the kind of hidden area. These are the kind of untapped strengths that we've yet to explore, and we all have capacities or abilities that we've just never had the opportunity to use because we've never been in a context where we've needed to draw on them. But it doesn't mean that they don't exist for us. So again, when we're looking at kind of growth and potential, this is a really interesting space to explore, especially if people are wanting to kind of progress in their careers or progress either something that they're doing for themselves. This is where we tap into some of those kind of hidden depths, unexplored territories. And then we get into this other area, the kind of private self. This is the part where we tend to kind of hide away from the world, where we feel some kind of judgment or shame or embarrassment. Quite often this comes from experiences that maybe we've encountered directly, where we've maybe been kind of reprimanded for something, or it can also be where we've witnessed negative outcome for somebody else by kind of stepping up and and doing something. So these are the bits that we like to kind of hide away, generally out of kind of fear and sort of trying to protect our kind of ego. This is what we call shadow self in the manifestation work that I do and that I've been practicing for 3 years. And it is also work that I do with clients in coaching. I don't do it with every client. They need to be ready. So there's a level of kind of growth that they need to have achieved already before we get into this space, because it can be really uncomfortable, as you might expect, to kind of work on this. But the point is, the more that we can bring out our shadow self, and we can do it in an authentic, kind of safe way. It's not about creating unnecessary risks and putting us into situations or contexts where we don't feel safe. But the more we can do it in a kind of safe, kind of authentic way, the more we realize that actually this is where a lot of our kind of unique gifts and abilities actually originate from, the things that make us distinctly us, and that are actually our the kind of sometimes it's related to our purpose, or the thing that we uniquely do or that we're uniquely interested in, that actually elevates us above others that are maybe operating in the same kind of field or areas. And the more that we can kind of own this part through work like coaching and manifestation, the more that it becomes then part of our public self, and the more that we can operate from a kind of level of comfort and authority. and those parts. So it's a really, really powerful kind of territory again to work in coaching. So yeah, I wanted to share it with you because it's a really good way of us helping to understand that when we think about humans, there's so much other stuff going on for all of us that we're just not fully aware of, that we're just not tuning into. But if we can tune into it a little bit more, we all have different, better conversations, different and better relationships. We're able to achieve more than we thought was possible. So I really wanted to share it with you because it's such a powerful concept. So I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.